All right, welcome to the virtual college exploration for all California students, sponsored by the College2Career Fairs and StriveScan. Thanks for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. Attendees can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to the presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists and I cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at college2careerfairsconnect.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week at that same website, college2careerfairsconnect.org. I would now like to turn it over to our presenters.
Thanks so much. Welcome and good evening. We're so excited to have you with us tonight. My name is Courtney Best, and I'm one of the Senior Associate Directors of Admissions and also the coordinator of West Coast Recruitment. And I live up here in Vancouver, Washington. So if you need anything, I am your person, and I'm going to share our information so you can see that. And then I'll have my current student who's presenting with me introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Logan Grubb. I'm happy to join you out here on the East Coast. I'm actually in Gettysburg currently. I'm a senior here at Gettysburg. I'm actually one of our senior interns in the admissions office as well. On campus, I'm an economics and public policy dual major, and I have minors in political science and peace and justice studies. Outside of the admissions office, though, I have a pretty diverse schedule of extracurriculars. So I'm the co-founder and co-editor-in-chief of the Gettysburg Journal for Public Policy. I also serve as our digital media fellow in the public policy program. I'm the house leader currently of Harmony House. I'm the co-chair of fundraising for the Peace and Justice Studies Student Council. I'm on the Honor Commission and Student Conduct Review Board. I'm also pretty involved in our choirs here on campus. I'm in 2 or 3 of those depending on the semester. Currently I'm working on a book project with a professor and another independent research project with her as well. So I'm certainly not unique in terms of being very, very involved here at Gettysburg. And I'm very glad to be here with Courtney presenting with her tonight.
Thanks. And yeah, Logan is a very typical Gettysburg student. Our students do it all and take advantage of everything they can in their 4 years. So tonight we really hope to share with you kind of what makes Gettysburg a little different than some of the other small private liberal arts schools, and especially in Pennsylvania. We'll talk about our location, and we'll talk about some of our special programs, definitely academics and student life, and I'll talk about how we really prepare you for the future and going into great careers and graduate programs. And I'll finish up with admissions and financial aid, so you have all the knowledge you need to apply. And we'll definitely leave extra time at the end for the questions, so please use that Q&A feature and we'll try and get to your questions definitely at the end, but I will also be trying to check that as we go along. So I'm going to kick us off and take you all the way over to the East Coast, to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And many students know of us because we are a historic, world famous town. And we try and tie that into your experience. So you will have maybe a tradition doing our first year walk, or you might hear a famous speaker coming to campus. We actually have Susan Eisenhower, who's President Eisenhower's granddaughter, and she's on campus every month working with our students. But we kind of claim Lincoln for the Gettysburg Address and also Eisenhower because he just had an affinity for the college and the students. From the West Coast, our students love the proximity to major cities. So you can see here, we're an hour from Baltimore, an hour and 20 minutes to Washington, D.C., and that's really where you'll fly in. We have a shuttle every day, every 3 hours for students, family members, counselors, friends, if they're coming to visit. And our students also use this if they want to just go out on their own adventures. If you've never explored Philadelphia, New York, you can hop on the train in Harrisburg and be there in 2.5 hours or 4 hours. So a lot of our faculty will tie that into your classroom experience as well. You might have field trips down to Washington, D.C. One of our special programs that Logan's going to tell us about a little later is our Eisenhower Institute. And we have an office 2 blocks from the White House in Washington, D.C., and we have an office on campus. So it gives you that direct pipeline into Washington. What you're going to find is our students come to campus and they love it. So it's hard this semester because we have half of our students on campus, Logan's on campus, but we have the other half that are learning remotely. And we really try and bring our students together as much as we can. And even in this virtual world, I've heard so many students say that they feel so connected to their faculty and their classmates, even though it's more through Zoom and in the virtual world. We have 2,600 students from all over the world, and we really love our size. Average class size is about 17. So your largest class might be some of your introductory courses. That might range from maybe 30 to 40 in the class, and your smallest class could be as small as 5 people. We have had some students do independent studies with faculty, so it's really that one-on-one experience. But you really have the whole 4 years to make the experience your own, take advantage of the campus. We love it. It's beautiful. The battlefield is right off of the campus, so students can go for a run or a walk in the battlefield. 20 minutes away is the Appalachian Trail, so if you're into the outdoors, you can go for a hike. But the really big piece of Gettysburg is being surrounded by others and learning from them and their different experiences and background. A big part of Gettysburg, and this is something that will hopefully help you set schools apart from one another, is our traditions. And so I'm going to actually turn it over to Logan to talk more about our traditions at Gettysburg.
So as Courtney has kind of alluded to, the traditions are such a big part kind of our year at Gettysburg, and kind of also of your 4 years here. So one of my favorite traditions is the one up in the top left corner, which is convocation. So this happens during our first year move-in day, and it really is kind of our official welcome to campus. So right there you see current students processing up with all the class flags. And they're actually just following all the faculty in who processed in all their regalia. There are thousands of white chairs spread out on our lawn in front of Pennsylvania Hall. And it really is one at this point in the day when you're finally settled into campus, you're all moved in, and your families are starting to leave. And you kind of have this, you start to have those butterflies of, well, this is really happening. I'm really here now. And convocation is, I look at it as kind of this, it's Gettysburg's big hug to you, right? You walk up the steps of Penn Hall and come out the other side, which is one signaling your official matriculation. But when you come out the other side, that the sidewalk will just be lined with faculty, current students, people from the town who are cheering you on, welcoming you to campus. And even this year too, kind of in the modified world that we're living in, we were able to do it in our first year seminar groups, about 17 students at a time. I give our staff such credit too, because I think they did it probably 20 different times, but recognizing that it is such a big part of our experience here, especially since right before commencement starts 4 years later, you'll walk through Penn Hall again, except the other way, just kind of our way of signaling, you know, you've been to Gettysburg, you've had the transformational experience, and now you're kind of going out into the real world there. I'll just touch on the other 3 that are here right now. So you see our annual Thanksgiving dinner, which happens the week before we all leave for Thanksgiving. That's also a really big event that is not only bringing the entire campus together, but also the faculty and staff as well. They're coming out to serve you, which is really cool to see. The president might be serving your table. In the econ department now, they all have aprons that say Gettysburg Econ Department on them. And so it's one of those good things that is really just bringing us together as a campus. Courtney had talked a little bit about the first year walk. So the students will follow the same path that students took back in 1863 to hear Lincoln give the Gettysburg Address, right? So then you'll have a speaker of honor who's also reading the Gettysburg Address and giving their interpretation of it. Burgburst here is an annual one that happens in the spring, which is really celebrating the culture that is at Gettysburg. So in addition to 40 states, we've got about 40 countries represented on campus as well. And a big part of that event, which is, I mean, it's really a day long of festivities and food. There are people who are bringing traditional dress and dances, but there'll also be a flag walk, right? And so it's really cool to see just the spectrum of diversity we have here at Gettysburg, and the celebration of the cultures here, right? Because we want our campus to represent the larger world around us. And I certainly think this is an event that does that for us.
So I have a whole list here for you to look through, but we have over 65 majors, minors, and special programs. And part of Gettysburg's academics is that we give you the first 2 years to figure it out. So when you get accepted to the college, you are accepted to all of these programs. There are a few that do require additional information during the application process, and I'm going to touch on that, but we do have a Sunderman Conservatory of Music, so I want you to know that there is an audition or recording this year that is required for that. Some of the new ones that just appeared in this past year is we have a new minor in data science. We have a new enhanced major in business organization and management studies. And just last week, the faculty approved, we combined two of our really strong programs of globalization studies and international affairs. And we have this new major of international and global studies where students can really choose their track and their theme within that. So we really do listen to students and what their interests are. And we are constantly looking at our curriculum and how we can make it stronger to meet the needs of our students. Many of our students, like Logan, don't just have one thing that they study, but they have multiple things. And you're looking at all of your classes through multiple lenses and kind of comparing what you're learning in one class to what you're learning in another class. We do have some pre-health advising as well as pre-law advising, and it's 100% acceptance rate into law school and about 88% acceptance rate into medical school. So we're really proud of that as well. Political science, psychology, business organization and management studies, economics, sociology, health sciences, biology, those tend to be the more popular majors amongst our students. But really, again, we want you to come in and take advantage of it. No matter what you study, you're going to learn how to think critically, how to share your ideas and communicate effectively, and how to problem solve and work in teams. That's one of our big goals. And part of that is through having small class sizes. So like I said before, the average class size is 17. We have faculty who come from some R1 institutions and they want to teach at Gettysburg because they want to interact with students. They want to do research with them. They want to challenge them. We just had our mid-year reports that went out and every student got in touch with their faculty, whether it was to celebrate how great they were doing or to ask them for some resources on how they can do better in their course. So this is a big part of who we are. And I wanted to have Logan talk a little bit about his experience in choosing a major and all of that. But before I do that, I am going to touch a little bit more on undergraduate research. So Logan, be ready. But for Gettysburg, we have over half of our students, 55% of our students that do research with a faculty member on campus. And this is across all disciplines. So it's not just in the sciences, it's in the humanities. We have a cross-disciplinary science institute over the summer. So students can really share what they're learning with others who might not be a similar major. We also have the Kobe Fellowship that is specifically for students who are in the humanities, and they might be working with a faculty member on a book or doing some of their own independent research. Some of the facilities we have at Gettysburg are top-notch. Right here you see the Anatomage virtual dissection table, and we are one of 100 schools in the nation that have this. Like Stanford Med has this for their medical students, and we have 2 of these for our undergraduate students. So it really is all about innovation through hands-on learning at Gettysburg. So in addition to the coursework and maybe 4 or 5 classes in a semester, you will also have this opportunity to collaborate with faculty and other students and pursue research. We've also seen some of our students take this research or internship experience abroad when they've studied abroad. So I'm going to actually have Logan talk a little bit more about his experiences and maybe selecting his major and then choosing a program to go abroad, and tell him about our study abroad program at Gettysburg.
Definitely. So I'll kind of cover some of the spectrum really of our curriculum here too. So I want to first touch on our first year seminar program. So first year seminars is something that every first year student will take in their first semester on campus. And this course is serving a number of roles. So one, it's going to help introduce you to what it's like to read and write at the college level. You'll do a lot of public speaking in that class as well. And it's also going to be seminar based. So those classes will be capped at 16. There's probably 40 to 45 of those each year to choose from. And the great thing about them is that the faculty are actively applying to teach these classes And oftentimes it's really just on a subject that they're super passionate about that might often exist outside of their normal curriculum that they're teaching. And this will also help decide where you're going to live your first year. So everyone is in your first year seminar will live in the same first year residence hall as you. And that's just because at Gettysburg, we really value those living learning communities. And it's an opportunity for you in your first year to connect with those students. So if you are working on a project, you can literally just walk down the hall and knock on their door and say, hey, would you like to work on this? In terms of picking my major, your first year seminar professor will usually be the professor who is your advisor until you declare. So as Courtney mentioned, you have until the end of your sophomore year to declare, at which point when you declare then you'll have a specific advisor within your major. So a lot of times this is someone who a student may have taken a class with before at the intro level and just kind of really hit it off. It might be a professor who's doing research that you're interested in kind of getting involved with. So students might reach out to them and say, would you be my advisor? And so really, you'll always be connected to someone at Gettysburg, whether it's formally or informally, who can help you in those advising roles. In terms of study abroad, we have about 60% of our students who will go abroad, and we have 100 plus programs affiliated across the globe. And actually, we currently have about 30 students who are abroad right now in England, London, France. Oh, I'm sorry, in England, Germany, France, and we actually have 3 students in China right now. And for me, I was able to study abroad in Berlin, Germany, and it was just a great opportunity for me to not only increase my fluency in the language, but know that I'm not only going to succeed academically, that I know Gettysburg is preparing me for that, but I'm also going to succeed as a person. I think you do a lot of growing up abroad, and there was this really cool turning point in the semester for me where I no longer needed my phone to get around the city. I could just hop on the public transportation and know exactly where I was going. And so I really felt like a resident of Berlin and not just a long-term tourist. And the things that you'll get to do abroad are second to none. One of my favorite experiences was seeing Yo-Yo Ma live in concert with the Berlin Philharmonic, which is something that I don't think I'd ever have the opportunity necessarily to see again. And so I definitely recommend for students who are interested in doing that to look at it. In terms of the Institute for International Education, we're ranked #1 in Pennsylvania right now, and #5 in the nation in terms of our abroad opportunities as well. So I'll also talk a little bit about our Center for Conservatory of Music, which is a huge part of one of the communities I'm involved here at Gettysburg. So I think we're unique in the sense that we do have a conservatory within a liberal arts setting. So I think it's important to point out that in order to be within the conservatory as a major, you will have to be accepted in both the audition process to the conservatory and also the college as well. But that even if you're not necessarily a major or minor, you can be very involved. So I've had the opportunity to tour 3 times now with 2 of the choirs that I'm in. I've been in 3 operas so far, which is something I never thought I'd get to do. I've also been able to be part of the live premiere of one of the compositions of one of our composition professors. So I think for someone who is really involved in music, and actually a lot of my research focuses around the nexus of economic impact and music education, I've been able to really find where my interests are. And I don't think that outside of the context of a liberal arts school, I would have necessarily made those connections. And so to know that I can still be involved with music as a non-major has been such an impactful and powerful part of my experience here so far. So the last thing I'll touch on is kind of our co-curricular programming as well. So we at Gettysburg have 5 distinctive programs. The 3 that I'll briefly touch on here is the Eisenhower Institute, the Center for Public Service, and the Garfield Leadership Program Center, excuse me. So the Eisenhower Institute is our public policy institute here on campus. As Courtney had mentioned earlier, Susan Eisenhower, who is the granddaughter of President Eisenhower, runs one of our programs. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in that currently, which has been a great opportunity for me just to have that connection to someone who has been so involved in the sphere of Washington and in foreign affairs and national security is incredible. It's the opportunities that Eisenhower Institute presents you to not only become a better leader, but to also have those direct connections to things, whether it be in governmental, non-governmental nonprofits, it is incredible. I think the connections the students leave Gettysburg having are some of the second to none. Our Center for Public Service, you can see down here, one of their programs is the Painted Turtle Farm. So we have a very large migrant population in Gettysburg. And so we partner with a lot of those families who actually have plots in this farm that they help to maintain themselves. And so one of the things that they'll do periodically throughout each of the semesters is have communal harvests. And so we're able to celebrate not only the community, but around this idea of food as well. I think you often find that food plays a big role here at Gettysburg, be it Thanksgiving or the Painted Turtle Farm. It's a great opportunity, whether you want to get out late in the evening, early in the morning, to go pick some vegetables, or also be involved with our campus kitchen, which is another of our distinctive programs within the Center for Public Service that was awarded one of the 5 service medals under the Obama administration. So certainly service is a huge part of students' life here at Gettysburg, and something you can assuredly stay involved in if you want to. Our growth leadership program too is really just to help students become those leaders of tomorrow. And I'll kind of turn it back over to Courtney and talk about the rest of our programming.
Thanks, Logan. And yeah, these are really the programs that set us apart. So the conservatory, Logan's done so much on campus. So the conservatory and the Eisenhower Institute, the Center for Public Service, and the Garth Waite Leadership Center. Here you see a student just giving their final presentation at the end of their leadership certificate. But it's really understanding how a student can grow and hone those leadership skills. There's a leadership certificate that students can start their first semester on campus. There are alumni and staff mentors to really help students hone those skills and have conversations about how to lead in organizations and different groups. We also have students that take on a leadership role, and they are student mentors to other students. So that is a big program. Something that's not pictured here, but when in Gettysburg, we have the Civil War Institute. So we just have amazing experts coming to campus, and our students are able to do internships, fellowships. They get to help plan the whole Civil War Institute over the summer, and we have opportunities for high school students. So this is a great way for a student who's really passionate about history or Civil War history to come to campus and learn from experts, but also get a feel for the campus. Other summer programs that we have for high school students include Site Camp. We have a tech camp that does coding and robotics. We have a 3D imaging and printing camp. We have a writing camp. And then of course this lovely opportunity for the Civil War Institute. So if you have students that you're working with, or if students, if you're a junior and you're looking for something to do next summer, take a look at some of those summer opportunities. With all of this balancing, academics and student life, it's great because everyone's living on campus. You're guaranteed housing all 4 years, and hopefully you're getting that idea that our students are very much a part of the campus and the community. There are 120 clubs and organizations, all run by students, and we really encourage students to get involved, whether it's they have a passion for social justice and social change. Not only could they get involved with the Center for Public Service, but there are also 5 or 6 student-run clubs and organizations that focus on community service. Politics, this is a big year for all of us, so if you can vote, go vote, but especially in Pennsylvania. If Gettysburg is in Pennsylvania, which is a swing state, and so on campus we have a really good dialogues, and so our student-run clubs and organizations, the students are the ones having those conversations and debates. We have great food. We're always ranked in the top 15 for the Princeton Review for our food. So I know that's something that some of our remote students are missing, but for students on campus, they're still getting the luxury of all the delicious food, and we're having theme nights, and we're still going to try and have some sort of Gettysburg Thanksgiving. It might not be the traditional one, but we will do that this fall. So I think whether it's students that are involved in, again, academic clubs or organizations that support the departments that they're majoring in, or if they're just really interested in cultural or religious opportunities, our student-run clubs and organizations really help support students with that outside of the classroom. I'm going to turn it over to Logan to talk a little bit more about the athletics and campus rec on campus.
So I think you'll find that amongst being a busy student here at Gettysburg, a lot of our students are getting physically involved as well, which is definitely a great way to break up your day too, whether it's being involved with one of our intramural teams, or you're one of our 25% plus students who are involved as Division III athletes. So when you look at it in the context of the entire campus, you have about 88% of students who are actively involved in some kind of campus rec. So whether that is playing on a sports team, or they're on an intramural team, or maybe a club team as well. There's a ton of opportunities for students to stay physically involved. I mean, we have an equestrian team, a club hockey team, both guys and gals rugby. We have an intramural frisbee team that usually goes to one frisbee competition a year. I think they usually go to one of the Carolinas, which is pretty cool. And so even if you don't want to be kind of involved in that structured of a way, there's a lot of pickup soccer games. We have an to water polo. So it's really fun to kind of have those opportunities to stay physically active on campus, or just to go support your friends who are on those sports teams. In a campus, even when we're all here, that's only about 2,600 students, you will inevitably know someone who's on at least one sports team. You can see right here the picture of our women's lacrosse team, who I believe this was their second. This was one of their back-to-back championships. They're at least 3-time national championship winners. So very excellent lacrosse program here. But it's really great to be able to have those friends just across campus who you can actively go out and support, whether they're in a theater production up here that you see, whether they're on a sports team. It's just great to have all these friends who have such a diversity of interests as well, and to also be able to support them too.
I'm gonna kind of bring it all together and finish up talking about careers and admissions. And every single experience you have at Gettysburg, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom, it's really helping you develop who you are, those skills that you'll need to continue on. Everything from job shadowing to internships, externships, or really spending a whole summer or a semester on a specific internship. We have all of these networking experiences, even in COVID times. We just had a virtual job fair and an internship fair for all of our students. So this is something that is very important to us and something we start talking about from day one. So no matter what your major is, if you have an idea of something that you want to do, we want to get you out into the world so you can experience that and really find what is the right fit. Here you see a lot of our students are getting into some of the top graduate programs and working for some of the big major companies like Google and LinkedIn, Disney, AT&T. So a lot of that is through our alumni connection. We have a great Gettysburg network of over 30,000 alums. And again, especially in a year like this, we've seen our alums really sharing through our Connect Gettysburg. It's kind of like our own Gettysburg LinkedIn. Just opportunities for students for internships or jobs that they know of within their own companies to really help out the current students. This is something that is a big part of Gettysburg Pride. Our alumni want to see our current students succeed, and we're very proud of this. 98% of our students have a job or in graduate school within a year of graduation, and about 3 out of 4 alums say that they use the Gettysburg Network, and this is a lifelong membership or a lifelong relationship. If you get into a profession and you're not really loving it, you can still use our Center for Career Engagement to network and find other alums in the field. So this is a big part of the rest of your life. I do love this picture. I don't know, Logan, do you want to talk about this one? I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah,
this is very Gettysburg.
Yeah, so this is also kind of ties back to some of our more our traditions here at Gettysburg. So you can see the patch on the sleeve of that girl right there is letting us know that she was able to go abroad, and that's where she chose to go. And another one that I'll point out too is the blue stoles that you see each of these students are wearing. So those are called stoles of gratitude. And the idea behind this is that every student at some point kind of during the graduation ceremony, whether it's shortly before or shortly thereafter, is able to give that to someone who's had a profound impact on them. So sometimes that might be a counselor, a professor, a family member. Sometimes people give it to their grandma, or sometimes people give it to one of the people who work in one of our dining centers, because you know what, they know that they were getting 3 square meals a day. And so it's really great to see not only when professors are able to kind of display these certain places, but I think to also know that students leave here, and often it's a very tough decision, you know, who can I give this to? And so I'm very excited to kind of be able to go through that this year, and to know that part of the reason we have these is because you will be profoundly changed and impacted here at Gettysburg. And this is just kind of our opportunity to let someone know that we really appreciated the changes that they've helped us go through.
Yeah, thanks, Logan. We call it the Gettysburg family for a reason, because you really do feel like you're part of this family, and there are those standouts that really help you get through your 4 years. So we like to take the time to give recognition to those people. So I'm gonna, this is our last slide, and I have a final picture of campus, but I just want to take you through our admissions process. We are a Common App school, so that is available every August 1st. And so this one is currently out, and we do not have a supplement, so you're welcome. But as we're going through the application, we really look at all of these pieces that are in your application. So your teacher and counselor recommendation, your personal statement, we're really looking to find out who you are and what you're bringing to the campus, your activities, even though they might have changed because they had to be canceled. What have you been doing with your time outside of the classroom? Even now, have you picked up something new? We want to know about it. We look at your transcript just to make sure that you are prepared to do the work. A lot of our students get A's and B's in strong classes in high school, and that makes it a smoother transition to come into the rigors of Gettysburg. We are a reading and writing intensive school, but again, you have the support of the faculty and smaller class sizes. I am going to really push for that virtual visit. If this is your first time learning about Gettysburg, please know that we have a ton of virtual panels coming up with faculty and students. I do a West Coast Wednesday a couple times a month, so you can see me again, and I'll have another student presenting with me, but just to talk about some of the nuances of coming from the West Coast to the East Coast. But if you have the opportunity, seniors, I really encourage you to interview, because that's the best place for you to really share your story and tell us about your growth and who you are, and what you're looking for in a college experience. I had mentioned earlier there are some additional pieces that you might want to look into, but anyone who applies to Gettysburg will automatically get considered for the Lincoln Presidential, David Wills, and Founder Scholarship. So you do not have to fill out any paperwork to get consideration for that. But we do have an extra question for the Eisenhower Scholarship. This is an Eisenhower Scholarship for Civic Engagement. It was new last year, and we have our first cohort of first years, 15 of them on campus. And this is really a question of what have you done? How have you made an impact in your local community, in your school community? And it could be everything from politically to environmentally. I saw a lot of gold awards and Eagle Scouts last year, but really how have you gotten involved in civic engagement, and what do you hope to do in the future? So that is something that requires an additional question. We have the STEM Scholars Program, and this is a program really primarily for underrepresented in the STEM field and first generation students. And so this is with the financial need, and we meet that need with 100% grants. So there's no student loans in the undergraduate experience, because we know many of them will go on to graduate school or continue their studies. And then the music scholarship, and this ties into our Sunderman Conservatory of Music. You will need to have a recording this year, or in future years we might have auditions on campus, but then you'll get consideration for the 3 different majors, as well as the $10,000 or the $34,000 a year scholarship. For those of you thinking of financial aid, we have 2 forms, the FAFSA and the CSS profile, and the FAFSA is coming out I guess it's October 1st, so it's tomorrow. Yeah, so you can, or the FAFSA and the CSS profile, you can fill both of those out starting tomorrow. So please use that. We use this in our estimators through financial aid as well. We have financial aid counselors that will follow you through your 4 years. So you can tell your story once and then just update the FAFSA each year as things change. And whether you're applying early decision or regular decision, you will hear from us if you've been accepted, if you've received a merit-based scholarship, and if you're applying for financial aid. That will all be together in one package. And that's something I'm really proud of. This is my 20th year working at Gettysburg. And for all of these reasons, we really are trying to find strong students and meet their needs so they can have this great 4-year opportunity. With early decision, round 1 and 2, you'll hear back within four weeks. And we get about 40% of our class from early decision, and then the rest comes from regular decision. You apply by January 15th, and we get back to you about mid-March. So, and this is our final view of campus, and some of the things we were talking about. You know, your first year dorms might be here, and then you'll have all of your classes kind of in a U shape. This building is pretty significant. This is where it all starts and where it ends at Gettysburg. So those chairs that Logan was talking about, you know, they're probably getting set up for fall convocation in this picture. And then 4 years later, students will walk up the stairs and graduate out front. You can see in the distance where we have the Appalachian Trail, and then you can see the beautiful battlefield. Being in a historic town, you have all the amenities of, you know, the hotels and the restaurants and the coffee shops and 2 movie theaters and the outlet mall. And it's the center of town is 3 blocks from the center of campus. So if you ever get the chance to come to Gettysburg, it's a beautiful campus, but it's also a great town with a lot of history. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to really open it up to you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the question and answer Q&A box, and we will touch on those. I did have one question for Logan just to kind of kick us off. And why on earth did you choose Gettysburg?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I often like to answer that question too. Is why did I choose to stay at Gettysburg? Because I often think that speaks a lot more to what we're saying here is kind of lived out over your 4 years, and I think my initial connection with Gettysburg was very much like this, in an info session kind of setting. And I could really tell that the first moment I stepped on campus, even though I was really just considered a prospective student at that point, that people were invested in my success as Logan, not as applicant number, whatever. And I think you'll find that here, as corny as it often sounds, I'm able to have the educational experience that I want to have and that's best for me. Rarely do you hear professors say no to you here. They might say, well, that's interesting, or that might be difficult. But the next thing that they say is then, how can we help you achieve that? And I think just to be able to have that level of encouragement and the support of faculty and really just across campus as well. I mean, it's from administration down. My first year seminar was taught by the provost, who's basically our chief academic officer here. And to know that he had just as much investment in us as a first year class, even though he has so many other things to be doing, was really encouraging. And I think even now to know that I'm kind of living that out, and that I've had a really profound impact on me is certainly something that I will not forget anytime soon.
Thanks. And I have another question for you, Logan. Sorry. Do you have any advice for students, juniors, seniors, especially as they're navigating their college process? Or would you give advice to your former, high school self? What would that be?
I'll kind of re-emphasize this notion of doing an interview. I think it's a good opportunity to connect with someone, whether it be myself or one of the other senior interns or one of our admissions counselors. Because it's important to recognize that people really do read your application here. In fact, it's 3 or 4 of our counselors at least. And so we really want to know, who are you as a student? And that interview is a great opportunity for you to say, so this is who I am on paper, and then this is who I am in person. and to be able to kind of connect individually with someone is great, especially when we're kind of deciding, as an office, who is going to be a great addition to our campus. And for one of us to be able to speak directly to you as a student, also as a person, is really, I think, not only a great piece of advice, but I think it also makes you feel better about the decision that you're making, and recognizing that it is really a big decision to go to a school. And you definitely want to feel as comfortable as you can in that decision, and also having had all your questions answered. I think it's a good opportunity to ask any kind of final questions. And recognizing at Gettysburg too, we very much want it to be a conversation. It's not supposed to be a super formal thing. We're here for you just to kind of learn who you are and hear about you.
Thanks. And you might get to interview with Logan or myself. Logan is one of our 3 senior interns in our office this year. So he's had the joy of getting to know a lot of our seniors applying to Gettysburg. And again, I think it's such an honor to hear your story. I will share a bit of my advice is wherever you go, just jump in and get involved. And that's something that we really stress at Gettysburg. Most of our first year students have their first year seminar and 3 other courses. But then on top of that, we have club fairs the second week of classes. So you can sign up for clubs and organizations and find like-minded people. But I think it's really important to join 2 or 3 clubs and organizations, especially in that first semester of your college experience, because that's really what kind of connects you. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I know, again, it's a little different now, but even now we have over 250 groups that are meeting virtually during this fall. So I think that's something that just makes your college experience so much richer, to have those personal connections. So one thing I did not mention that I wanted to share was APs of 4 and 5 will come in as credit, and IBs of 5 and above on the higher level exams or higher level courses, those will also transfer in as credit. So I wanted to share that with you. And I know testing has been on a lot of people's mind, and I didn't mention that we are a test optional school. We've been test optional for over 14 years. All of our merit scholarships are test optional, so don't worry about that, especially this year. If you had the opportunity to take it and you like your scores, please feel free to send it in. If you didn't have the opportunity, we totally understand, and we are already a test optional school, so that is available for you. Let's see. Oh, Logan, do you mind sharing a little bit more about your experience as a current student during this COVID time?
Yeah, so I think that I'll emphasize that currently, as part of the residential cohort here at Gettysburg, we get tested every week. We get an update at the beginning of every week too about the number of current active cases. And then we'll find out our results usually in 48 hours. And I think that the college recognized that such a big part of our experience is residential, but also recognizing that everything is changing every day. And so we're doing our best to stay on top of all the changes that are coming out from the various studies, but also recognizing here that we still do have students that we're making sure that we're serving both in the residential cohort and who are home as well. And I think, we knew that we were prepared if we were going to have to go into kind of a hybrid-esque model at this point, and know that even if you're someone who's studying at home, the commitment from the faculty here, that does not change. That's something that even last spring, when they had a week and a half to kind of throw things together, it nevertheless changed. I mean, every Monday at 10 p.m., one of my professors had their office hours. Like the commitment that they had to us, that was pretty unwavering. And I think is something that even if you're not physically part of the Gettysburg community, that extends beyond the campus itself.
Thanks. And I think we're just about done with our time segment, but any last thoughts or final things that you would like to share?
I think that this has just been a great opportunity. I certainly hope that this has been informative for all of you. And just know that we in the University's office are here for you. please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We will always get back to you, and we're just so happy to have, the next class of Gettysburgians come in, because every class year is unique and different, and everyone's experiences themselves are also unique and different.
Thanks, Logan. And please feel free to get in touch anytime.
All right, thanks so much to our two presenters. Students, when you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We really appreciate any feedback that you can provide. This was just one of many sessions being hosted, so be sure to sign up for any additional sessions you're interested in at college2careerfairsconnect.org. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all the other sessions at that same website, college2careerfairsconnect.org. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a nice night.